Picture this. An airline owner steps into his own airport restaurant, not as the boss, but as a regular customer. He's dressed casually, blending in with the crowd, determined to see how his staff treats people when they don't know who he is. With every detail carefully observed, from how the servers greet guests to the quality of the food, he starts to notice things that don't sit right. At first, it's small stuff, a missed smile here, a forgotten thank you there, but as the night goes on, what he discovers behind the scenes leaves him absolutely stunned. This isn't just about the service or the food, it's about trust, integrity, and the values he built his company on. What shocking truth did he uncover? And how will he handle it? Stick around because this story will have you rethinking everything you know about leadership and loyalty. The owner had always prided himself on creating a company that valued its employees and customers equally. His airline wasn't just a business to him, it was a family. That's why this secret visit wasn't a random whim. He'd been hearing whispers lately, complaints from passengers, rumors about staff morale, and even a troubling review about poor treatment at this very restaurant. It didn't add up. He trusted his team, but something felt off. As he sat at a small corner table, he observed everything: the way the hostess seemed distracted, the frustrated looks exchanged between staff, and the overheard grumbles about long hours. When his food finally arrived, it didn't match the quality he expected. Still, the food wasn't what concerned him most. What really grabbed his attention was the hushed argument unfolding in the kitchen, barely hidden behind the swinging doors. What were they hiding back there? And why did it feel like more than just a bad night? The owner couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was going on. As the heated voices from the kitchen grew louder, he noticed a young server nervously glancing toward the back, as if she was afraid someone might notice her. She approached his table hesitantly, her forced smile barely hiding the stress in her eyes. "Is everything okay with your meal?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. He assured her it was fine, though his curiosity grew with every passing moment. Why did she seem so anxious? Moments later, another customer at a nearby table tried to get her attention, but instead of helping, a manager barked at her to keep moving. The owner's stomach churned. Was this how his staff was treated? He thought back to the training programs he'd implemented, the open-door policies meant to foster respect and transparency. Something wasn't adding up. Then, he overheard a chilling phrase from the kitchen: "We'll deal with it after closing." What could they possibly mean? Was this just about work, or was there something more serious lurking behind the scenes? Each passing second made the pause the owner sat quietly, his eyes darting between the nervous server, the stern manager, and the kitchen doors that seemed to swing more aggressively with each passing minute. His heart raced as he pieced together fragments of the conversations he overheard. Short-staffed, someone whispered. "Not my problem," another snapped. Yet it was the quiet, almost desperate, "I can't do this anymore," from the server that stuck with him. As the dinner rush slowed, the tension in the restaurant didn't ease. In fact, it seemed to thicken, like everyone was bracing for something. The owner decided to dig deeper. He asked the server for the check, casually trying to start a conversation. "You must have some wild nights working here," he said, hoping to break through her unease. Her eyes flickered toward the kitchen and she hesitated. "You have no idea," she replied softly, before quickly walking away. Just as he prepared to leave, the manager stormed out of the kitchen, his face red with anger. He muttered something under his breath and disappeared toward the back office, slamming the door behind him. The staff exchanged nervous glances, and the air felt thick with unspoken fear. The owner knew he had to act soon. Something was brewing, and whatever it wasn't going to wait until the end of the night. More, just as the owner thought the night couldn't get more intense, he noticed something he hadn't caught before: a man seated alone near the back of the restaurant, dressed sharply and scribbling notes on a small pad. He wasn't eating, and his eyes scanned the room with sharp precision, lingering on the staff and occasionally glancing toward the kitchen. Something about him didn't feel right. Was he just another customer, or was he connected to whatever was going on behind the scenes? The owner decided to stay a little longer. As the minutes passed, the man stood up, leaving cash on the table, and walked straight toward the kitchen. The staff froze, their eyes wide with panic. The swinging doors closed behind him, but not before the owner caught a glimpse of the man shaking hands with the furious manager. It didn't make sense. Who was this man? Why would the manager look relieved, almost conspiratorial, after such an intense argument with his team? The pieces of the puzzle shifted again, and then, as if to confirm his worst fears, the young server walked past him, whispering under her breath to another coworker, "If they find out, we're all done for." Done for? The owner's chest tightened. Was this more than bad management or low morale? He couldn't leave now. Something bigger was at stake. Whatever they were hiding, it was about to come to light, and he had to be ready for the truth. Complicated, and the truth-feed owner knew he couldn't sit back any longer. He stood up, walking toward the kitchen with quiet determination, blending in with the remaining customers. Just as he reached the swinging doors, he heard muffled voices arguing. He slipped through unnoticed and hid behind a stack of boxes, his heart pounding. The sharp-dressed man was leaning against the counter, speaking in a low, firm tone. "We agreed this would stay under the radar," he said. The manager nodded nervously, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's been harder to cover up. The staff is catching on." The owner's stomach dropped. What were they hiding? Suddenly, the young server burst into the room, clearly fed up. "This isn't right," she exclaimed. "People are getting sick because of the shortcuts you're taking. I won't keep quiet anymore." The room froze. The owner stepped forward, revealing himself. "And neither will I," he said firmly. The manager's face went pale as the truth unraveled. They had been cutting corners with food storage and preparation to save money, jeopardizing the health of their customers and the integrity of the airline's name. But then came the twist. The sharp-dressed man wasn't just a shady accomplice. He was an undercover health inspector, tipped off by anonymous complaints. His visit wasn't to cover up the problem. It was to gather enough evidence to shut it down. The manager's jaw dropped as the inspector revealed his badge. "You'll be hearing from us soon," he said before walking out. The owner turned to his staff, vowing to make things right. The restaurant would face its consequences, but the hard-working employees, like the young server, wouldn't be punished for doing the right thing. In the end, the night wasn't just about uncovering deceit. It was a wake-up call for the owner to rebuild trust and ensure his company's values weren't just words on paper, but actions everyone could stand by. Hold closer. Yet somehow even more unsettling. The next morning, the owner called an emergency meeting with his staff. He stood in front of them, no longer in disguise, and acknowledged what had gone wrong. "I built this company on trust and respect," he said, his voice steady but firm. "But somewhere along the way, we lost sight of that. It's my job to fix this, and I promise you things will change." He personally apologized to the young server, thanking her for her courage. She was hesitant at first, but eventually shared everything she knew about the behind-the-scenes problems. The owner worked closely with the inspector to address the violations, shutting down the restaurant temporarily to fix every issue.